Hey guys, today I'm gonna try to fix the chair of this E36 M3. The reclining does not work, as you can see. You just hear the motor, it doesn't move the chair. And that's just a small gear that I'm gonna replace in the motor assembly. So in order to remove the seat, what you need to do is you need to take out these 4 bolts. 1, 2, and there's one here and one on the other side, and they're really easy to do, so I'll take them out. So after you remove the plastic pieces, which are the trim caps here, you take a 5/8 of an inch socket wrench, and then you just loosen the bolts, and they're really, once you do that, they're very easy to remove. I usually start with the front one. And then you can do it with your fingers. And you do all 4. You move the seat forward and then you access the other ones, and those don't have any trim covers, so they're just so you can see I'm taking these off by just hand screwing them like that, unscrewing them. And then afterwards, so the back ones are different types of bolts. These are just nuts that go around the bolts that are in the frame. What I'm going to do here, because I have a convertible, I'm just going to pull the top down. It's easier to pull the chair out. So I'm going to put that down first. Let me do that. So now that I have the whole car open and the seat unbolted, I'm just gonna pull it back and try to undo the wiring. As you can see, the seat pulls back, and all you have to do is just undo the wiring here and make sure you know what each wire stands for, so label them for best practices. So I unplugged all these harnesses from the seat, and I labeled them 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is clearly the white one that goes here, to the closer to the door. And now that I can pull the seat out, I'm just going to do that just simply by carefully pulling it out of the car. You can see I've taken the seat out, and there's all the stuff and debris which I'm going to vacuum. Here's the wiring harness, which has a lot of plugs. I think about 6 all together, so make sure you mark them up, because some of them are not smart plugs, so they can fit in any socket. You gotta make sure you put the right ones. If I'm vacuum here, I put the plastic bag here so I don't damage the leather. I'm going to turn the seat on its side and start working on the motor. So next you want to put the seat on its side so that you have access to the motors. On this side we're going to have to take this panel off. This is just a regular torque screw. And just make sure you clean the rails, vacuum those so that you get all the sand out. If you have sand, that would prevent movement. Now it's all vacuum cleaned. You could see no debris at all. I also vacuumed the rails a little bit. I'm going to use some air pressure to clean them out a little better. That's very important. Again, you don't want the sand to be grinding in the rails when you're moving the seat. See, the seat is reclined a little too far back, so that can be changed once we put the gear in. Once you remove that plastic cover here, you expose the two motors. And these are the two motors that control the seat position. One of them is for the recliner, and the other one is for the movement of the seat up and down. So what you need to do is to disengage these motors and then get to that stage right here. And all there is to it is just a torque of 25, I think, and all these could be easily removed. So you just have to work your way into removing this torque screw. Well, actually, you just need to remove one of these, and then once you release the motors, you can pull them out easily, and then you can unscrew these. So you have to do 1, 2, 3, and the one that's difficult to remove is the one in the back right here. So once you remove 1 and 2, you can remove that motor, and then you get to remove that one, and then you just have to get to this one. So it's not very hard. I'm going to do this off camera. You can see I removed the other one, and then this one I'm loosening up right here. And all you have to do is just remove. Now you may need to remove that one too in order to release this bracket that holds this motor in place. So before you can lift this up, clearly you have to remove that one too. So what I had to do, I had to pull a little bit on this one, just enough to get to that, to get my torque wrench to go back there. And then once you do that, you can swivel this away. You don't even have to remove that one, just unless it's really screwed on tight, which from last time I didn't make it that tight. And then you can just pull out that motor quite easily actually, and you can see how it just goes away to the side. You can zip tie it if you had to, or just leave it hanging here. Just be careful it doesn't get caught onto something. The next thing you need to do is remove that torque screw, and that's where I had to actually get this, had to get one of these because my other tools didn't work. This one will get in there. It's quite a bit of work to get it in there, so I'm going to try to do that off camera and then remove this one as well. And that will disengage the other motor, and I'll access the panel I want to access. You could see that I removed all three of them, all three bolts, quite easily, but I'm struggling to get to that fourth one, which is in the back, as you can see. But just needs a little bit of patience, and one turn at a time, or 1/4 turn at a time. And you know, at some point it'll be easy to remove it by finger, but not yet. So I'm gonna do this off camera. But that is the hardest part of the job, actually, believe it or not. So let me do this and I'll get back. Alright, finally I got it out. There's the second motor. You won't get them confused. I think actually one way to not get them confused is to keep that bracket on the one on the right. You'll remember that the one that's hidden is the one with the bracket. Now you have about 6 of these to remove. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Actually, these are the smaller ones, so they are T20 is what you need. T20 for these 6. I believe they're all T20. Alright, now that I got all 6 screws out of this assembly, I'm just going to take this top panel off. It needs both hands, so I'm going to have to put the phone down. But you need to wiggle back and forth this way until this thing comes off. Okay, so you have to be very careful and lift it straight up, not so that you don't bend anything. As you can quickly notice, that gear here is actually broken, and parts of that gear are found to be here, right on top of this. So that green gear is completely shattered, and that's the reason the seat was not reclining. So what we need to do is remove this piece first, and then remove this. But you have to be very careful to take all the little particulates out, and maybe give this a new lube job with some of the car grease that I have here. Alright, so I'm going to take this off first, and then that one, and clean this. As I'm pulling this off, you can see that all these pieces are coming apart in 3 little pieces, actually 4 if you count this one. But when you remove this piece, you want to make sure that you don't disturb the, there's a little bracket in there that holds this, let me move the motor out of the way a little bit, but you can see here, there's a piece that in there that's need to sit there and stay there, so make sure you don't remove that. And you got to clean this area here very well, but don't leave any debris. That's important because these are all moving parts. Alright, here it is. I took it out and then I cleaned where it is. Let me just show you with light. I guess that's not good on camera, but you could see that it's fairly clean, at least from debris. With a little grease, it's okay. In fact, you're gonna have to re-grease some of that stuff. Certainly put more grease here. And here's a new gear that I'm going to put in, and that gear is bought it from Amazon. There's lots of them. Make sure that the one you get has thick sort of plastic and not thin plastic. They could fit, but they may break easily. So this is actually a good one that I got. It says from Dorman here, Dorman products, but you can get any one you want. And I cleaned these as well. You can always use a little bit air pressure, ultra duster, or any kind of compressed air. You have to clean these very carefully. Clean them again before you put them in from any debris. And then the most important part is when you get to this one, where you're gonna put the new the green gear, you're gonna have to remove that piece right here, which is the clip. This is a C-clip that goes over it. You can't insert the new gear unless you remove this. Now, I always struggle with it, but I'm going to do it with both hands. If you have a way to hold this in place, it's a bit easier, but a pair of pliers will do the job if you're careful not to bend it too much. Alright, let's do this. Take this clip off, and then we're going to ease the new plastic gear in there. So after we removed the C-clip here from this part right there, what we're going to do, we're going to put the let me show you this. We're going to put the green ring, the green gear rather. The green is for the passenger side and the white is for the driver's side, but now I've already changed the driver's side, so now this is the passenger side. There's a wider end and a narrower end. You can probably see it easily if I flip it. This is the wider, and this is the narrower. So you want to put the wider end over this carefully, and it's not a very easy fit. It's a very tight fit. It must be tight, and so I need both hands to do that. But when you do that, you can see it sits a little bit sits like that. After you do that, what you're gonna do, see it's already sitting in place. You're gonna put this over here and tap it lightly here with some tool, but only very lightly, and put some cardboard here so that you don't damage the metal ends. I'm gonna get off camera to do this carefully. This is a very important part. You don't want to overdo it. You just want to do it enough so that you can put back the C-clip to hold it in place. If you overdo it, you can put tension on that ring, which is probably why they keep breaking. But again, you know, the last one I put in lasted me 6 years. If I can get another 6 years out of this, I'd be happy. Alright, as you can see, I was able to put it on quite nicely, and I just made enough room to put the C-clip back on. And it might still be hard to put it on. It feels like it wouldn't have any play, but it's always better to put the C-clip on. That's how it came anyway. So I'm going to try to do that, and then I'll put it back in here and then re-grease it with some grease that I've obtained before from a car store. And then that's it, and putting everything back together. And as we did, as we took it apart, we put it back together, same way. Alright, I'll get back. So as I was cleaning this with the air pressure, you notice that this clip that sits here had come off, and this one here, and you really must put it the right way. I'm gonna put it in and then put the gear back in and grease the whole assembly. You can see the grease flew here with the air pressure. Again, you want to clean all that out and get this back in one piece. I'm noticing that if you put this back, apparently the groove side goes in the back, so this actually is going to sit this way. Counterintuitive a little bit, but it only really sits one way, so make sure you put it the right way. If you put it this way, it's not going to sit in, it's going to sit this way. So try it the right way if it came off. If it didn't come off, then don't take it off. Alright, what I'm going to show you now is how the gears are controlling this chair. So if you move the chair a little bit in or out, you see that the gear moves according to. So you might want to push the seat a little bit more and reduce the angle a little bit so it's easier to install when you put it back before you put that gear in. Once you put the gear in, it locks it in place. So you can see I've put it back in, and you can see when I turn this a little bit, it actually causes this to move, and you could probably, maybe hard to see, but the chair actually also moves when you do that. I wouldn't do that too much if I were you until you have the whole thing sealed up and lubed. Just wanted to show you this. As you can see now, it's the fun part. You lube the parts. I pulled them out and I lubed them independently, and you want to put as much lube between in the holes as possible. So for example, you want to put some lube here and here, but what you want to make sure in the process of doing that is that you don't put lube on these blue labeled rods, which are supposed to move with the motor. Those don't need to be lubed. So I'm going to turn off the camera so I can control. You can use your hands as well. Just make sure you wipe them really well so they're not lubed in the motor's assembly, because they should be holding on to the motors, not slipping. Okay. Alright, now you can see that all these gears are quite well lubed in every spot here. And I already cleaned this one from the debris. There's some lube in there which you can leave or take out, but if it's excessive you need to take it out. But it's nonetheless sealed quite well. You just have to make sure you take your time to align the top bracket on this quite well and screw the threads, the 6 bolts, slowly, one at a time. Before you start tightening them, you tighten them all at the end. Don't over tighten again, but they need to be tight, because this is moving parts that need to be held in place. This could pop out if it's not tightly held in place. I think we're ready to go with the closing of the assembly. Alright, and that's it. Okay, you've seen I put those 6 bolts in there, tighten them well. There's no gap here. Check there's no gap. Wipe off any excess lube, and wipe these again one more time to remove any grease that might be sticking on them. You're ready to put the motors back on. Start with the one with the bracket first, and then put this one later. As you can see, we've put the motors back in, screwed them in, put the back panel, and now it's just a matter of moving the chair back into place and putting the harness back, and then testing it. That's it. Alright folks, this is done. The job is done. All the harnesses are in the right place. You can see that here. The white one is for the motors, and the other ones I think are for the heating. This is for the airbag, not the airbag, the seat buckle, and all you have to do is just make sure that you put the seat back on the proper sockets, line them up correctly. You may have to move the seat a little bit, and once it lines up correctly, you can put all the bolts. And just to try it out for you, here it is. This is the reclining seat. it's working. All right, well, that's it for me. Thank you very much for watching.